Welcome back, folks. Today is December 8th, and we're just getting our winter steelhead season kicked off. Our winter steelhead long, hard, boring ass grind kicked off. So it's pretty early. I think that there's gonna be some fish in the system, but it is totally plausible that there's not even a single fish in the river yet. We've had a lot of rain over the last 4 or 5 days. It's been absolutely dumping after barely raining all fall. The river was way too high the previous 2 days, and it's on the way down now. I would say most guys would probably call this blown out still, and I think it's going to be pretty murky, but I haven't been out in 2 weeks, so I'm dying to get on the water. So it doesn't really matter. We'll, tune up our spay casting for the season. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, we find a fish because nobody else is out here. The river's falling. If it was about a foot lower, I'd be way more excited. But in my opinion, these are actually still decent conditions. So, yeah, I guess that's all there is to it. Let's get after it. I'll see you guys on the water. All right, guys, here we are at the little creek that comes in just below this, and she's looking murky and ripping. In the summer, this is barely a trickle, but you know what? I can still see my feet. I'm about knee deep. I don't know what that is, at least 2 feet of visibility. That's good enough for me. So, crossing our fingers here. All right, guys, now that I'm in the river, she's real high. But we're gonna start out with this bright fuchsia fly, running T14 sink tip. And we're not gonna be worried about bombing too many long casts out there. It's gonna be pretty rough way out there anyway. If the river was lower, I'd be shooting for longer casts and hammering them out as far as I could, but these conditions, I don't think it's as important. That was ugly. All right, so the strat right now, when the river's high like this, like I said earlier, I'm really just not too worried about what's going on out there in the middle. It's ripping. So even if my flies are swinging too fast out there, that's all right. The water, so steelhead are really lazy fish. Well, most fish are lazy. They're trying to, be efficient, conserve energy in the current, but steelhead are lazy. So the water I'm really interested in is this nearest 5 to 10 feet to shore. So as long as my flies are slowed down by the time they get there, I'm happy. And really, I'm trying to fish those flies all the way up into the grass on the shore if I can, because that's where I think the steelhead are really going to be. If they're traveling, they're moving in this nice slow water here, right along the side. I actually think that they like to be in the vegetation like that. So yeah, pretty much worried about the last 10 feet of my swing for the most part. Everything else is bonus at best, but most likely just not fishing effectively. Because it's just damn fast out there, and it's extra deep right now too. Not that they couldn't be out there, but a lot of spay fishing is about finding water that you can fish effectively. Because there's a lot of fish. I mean, if you pay attention to what the gear anglers are doing, they catch fish in water all the time that the fly fishermen would be like, no, there's no steelhead there. And we're just wrong about that. We're just not able to fish for them there. So 2 or 3 years ago, I was working in a fly shop, and I had caught steelhead before. When I was in college, I went to college in Eastern Washington, in Walla Walla, and we used to catch quite a few steelhead nymphing out there. But I'd never swung up a steelhead in my life. And I had dabbled a little bit. I'd given it a try here and there, but especially if you don't have a teacher or a guide, your odds of catching a fish dabbling are incredibly slim. And your odds of catching a fish working as hard as possible are incredibly slim. But anyway, I'm working at the fly shop and the season is going on. People are catching fish. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, I cannot be the only fly shop employee who A, has never swung up a steelhead, and B, doesn't get one this whole season. So, we're late in the season. It was a random day. I was mindlessly fishing, standing right here. And finally, all of a sudden, a fish grabs out in midstream, and it goes from nothing to rip and drag. It wasn't the biggest steelhead I've ever caught, but it was a hot, big buck and a big wild buck. And I was so excited. And at first I was like, I literally, when I hook into a fish like that, where I'm like, this is a season maker. Like, I will never ever forget this fish. I get anxious and I start telling myself, I'm speaking out loud to myself, you're not gonna catch this fish. There's no way in hell. That fish is getting away, guaranteed. And then as it gets to my feet, that's the real tricky part, is right when the fish gets, the hardest part is landing it. So it gets to my feet, and then there's kind of a ledge down here, and it drops down off that ledge, and I'm thinking, surely I'm gonna lose this fish. But eventually I land it, and I am so excited. I go crazy. I'm just running up and down the bank, screaming and yelling. I called my dad immediately. I was like, I finally did it. I texted a picture to everyone at the fly shop. And yeah, that was the only steelhead I caught that year. So got 1 that year, 2 last year. And if we continue the trend, we'll get 3 this year. So yeah, I guess that's really the whole story. But 20, 30 years ago, yeah, I guess that's the whole story. Look at how full the side channel is. Shoop. That's straight up dry in the summer. Anyway, so here's the deal. For a young guy like me, who's only in my, I guess, 3rd season of really serious winter steelheading, there has never been a worse time in history to try and learn how to do this. A lot of my coworkers, the fly shop, they could remember back 30, 40 years to when if you were pretty good, you'd have a pretty good chance of sticking one. But these days, steelhead stocks are just in such gnarly decline that it almost doesn't matter how good you are. If the fish aren't there, you can't catch them. So it makes it incredibly difficult to learn how to steelhead fish, because for all I know, I could be doing everything right and the fish just aren't there. So you just don't get that feedback from the fish. Really hard to learn where they actually want to be. Hard to learn what colors and flies and sink tips are going to work the best in any given condition. Because like I said, an awful lot of the time, it just doesn't matter. So and people talk about that. Like, I've seen guys at the fly shop talking to the new folks about, man, good luck out there. So if you're trying to get into steelheading, honestly, this year might be a good year, because the salmon runs were good. I hear that the counts are looking good, but it's still gonna be pretty tough. But yeah, it's just a brutal activity. So if you're trying to get into it, or even if you're already in it, good luck, comrades. All right, folks, so I believe that these ferns on this tree, like that, are licorice ferns. And these big old trees, I think this is a cottonwood, are ecosystems unto themselves. They support so much life growing on them like that. But just the interesting biology of cottonwoods, they grow big and they grow fast, but they're short-lived trees. They like to live near the river, so they have to handle a lot of floods. They're always in danger of getting eroded or washed away. So yeah, they gotta do their thing quick. So right now the challenge in this spot is swinging it into this nice slack water right along the bank, but also trying to not get stuck in all these willows that are in the water. All right, guys, about 4 hours of fishing, and I think that's gonna be enough for me today. Good warm up for the season. Not fun kicking it off. We're not really there yet, but I'm excited. But trying to keep it reasonable, because really the warm up is getting into that winter steelhead mindset of being able to focus on what you're doing and like have good technique and fish whatever water's in front of you as best you can, but doing it with like only half your brain, so that you're not feeling the time too much. You're not feeling too much anticipation, because when you've got all that anticipation all the time and it doesn't happen and it doesn't happen and it doesn't happen and it doesn't happen and doesn't happen, you're gonna burn out. So you really gotta manage expectations. So I'm not trying to put in too much time on the front end when I don't think my odds are that good, because it's really easy to burn out. It's a long season, it's grueling. So you just gotta manage that headspace well. So yeah, beautiful time on the water. Dealt with that cabin fever a little bit since I hadn't been out for 2 weeks, and I'm not gonna have to have that long of a break again, at least not too soon, because today's Friday, getting out again on Monday. Haven't quite decided where I'm going or what I'll do, but you'll probably see it. So stay tuned. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. Once I hit 500 subscribers, I can monetize, baby. So we'd love that. And thank you guys for watching.